Yes, this morning, here I am, struggling with my asthma again, but I just had to come on and talk about a few things this morning. It's just crazy. Hey, the boss. Um, Last night, I don't know how many of you caught Catherine's live stream, but that's what I have to talk about. I put a link to it in the description below. We have to talk about without a box of Kleenex. But this is going to be interesting because my asthma is so bad. That's not doing it. This may be when I have to use, which means that she's going to talk about gross stuff if she sees that when she actually needs this. Okay, if you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write No Longer Quivering for Pathos for nearly 10 years. It's one of those columns about evangelical, quiverful Christianity. And unfortunately, I got to know Without a Crystal Ball, Miss Without a Crystal Ball, Catherine, when we both wrote for Pathos, and I was introduced to her by one of my editors that said, can you keep an eye on her and help her out? And just another troll. Yes, I know. That's going to be, I'm blown away. As I pointed out, perhaps Josh uses paper towels to wipe his nose in his office, unlike AJ. Exactly. Here's my paper towel. I've been having asthma all week, and I found out last night why I'm having awful how to control asthma. We had a volcano explosion on Monday afternoon at Rincon de la Vieja. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. It's not too far from here. So I only found out because I was supposed to do a wine and design paint party this morning, and I had to bow out as of last night and say, I can't do this. I'm just way too sick. And every other asthmatic in the world said, yeah. And then they started showing me there were asthmatic warnings to stay inside because of the volcano. Well, I've been mostly inside for the entire week as a result. So who knows? Jump off if you need to. Your health is more important. Yes. Hey, Carolyn. Hey, Bliss. Hey, Java Man. It is just, I'm blown away. I'm good in the morning, so hopefully I can get a little bit. So, Miss Without a Paper Towel, I think that paper towels are for wanking only, apparently. I guess if you live a kind of gross life, that's where you go. She said so many false things on this stream last night, and so many things that were libelous. I mean, I don't know how the Duggars cannot sue her now, particularly Amy. Have you tried a HEPA air filter? Java Man, I actually have a handheld one I put up to my face when it's bad. And I may be doing that this afternoon. And I have N95 masks I wear when it's like this. But for now, I'm inside with the window sealed and the AC on. So that's where I've been all week. That's where I'm going to stay. So anyway, long story short, she started out by hinting. She didn't come out and say, these men did this to me, but she came about as close as she could. She said that the guys in the Duggar family that she was talking to were being sexual with her. Now, I don't believe that one bit because, well, first of all, I mean, she's talking about people contacting her. Maybe some local yokels have contacted her and been inappropriately sexual with her, but we know how she likes to exaggerate. So I don't believe that anyone has been. Yeah, Java Man, unfortunately, I can't do that because we have many splits here. I just can't see that. Knowing that culture and knowing that there are people involved with the Duggars who try to always present the best side and try to present this wonderful, everything is fine, ignore everything else. I'm reminded of the guy in Animal House at the end, the ROTC guys like, everything is fine, slow down, stop rioting. At the end, the crowd runs over him. I'm reminded by him of how the Duggars actually are, because that's what she doesn't get. I've been writing about the Duggars for let's see, about 11 or 12 years now. And the way they are, no one in the family would ever deviate from the script. No one, no one, no one. Ask her for the receipts. Oh my God, she lives in her own fantasy world. Yes. Yes, it was. And I also want to say that, just another troll, about the money that, hey, Jan, that Amy owes or may owe in taxes. And I'm going to say this too because of Keemstar. And because he made a good point. I watched his video several times about him just completely debunking the lie that Katie said about him. Here's the thing. If you have a business, your tax situation is very complex. It's not like fill out your 1040 easy form and send it in, write them a check for $50. It's not like that at all. And I only know this because we had a business we had business and we lost our shirts. I'm just going to come right out and tell you. And the tax situation is never easy or simple. And there are times when you may owe taxes. You may be delaying paying them for whatever reason. And Keemstar spoke about this. There are times when you're going to dispute what they're saying and you're not going to pay it. And they're going to have a lien on you anyway. So you are going to just get your accountants or whoever to do this. And we went through this too also one year when our brokerage screwed us. They reported a bunch of income that we didn't have. We had transferred an investment from one thing to another thing. The brokerage reported it as a sale without a reinvestment. The IRS came after us for $60,000. Well, what happened was, once that happened and we were in disagreement with them, I started, of course, gathering my documents. I went to the IRS Service Center in Fredericksburg, Virginia, not far from where I was living, and I talked to a genuine human being. I kept doing that. I kept doing that until I figured out exactly what it was they wanted, what I needed to do. And at that time, you could also fill out a form and ask for relief from the injunction too. I mean, ended up, I had to write them a check for $46, the IRS. And then they turned around and cut me a check for $6,000. That's how we finally resolved it. Because once they heard what was going on and I figured out what they were doing, we managed to straighten it out. So those complex situations that I'm talking about. Hey, Kira, so when you have money, 10,000 plus pages of tax code, Java man, that's right. And it's complex. And if you have complex tax situations, I'm going to give Donald Trump a compliment. So hang on your hats, because I've had nothing but uncomplimentary things to say about him mostly. Occasionally I'll say something complimentary. This is a compliment. He made some things much easier. Did you know that as of last tax year, you could have as much as like $500,000 in foreign investments and pay zero in taxes on those? Zero. Whereas before you'd have to input your foreign investments, and it was quite the song and dance to get it done. But Trump just took that away during his first year in office and started raising that maximum, raising that ceiling every year. So it's a complex thing. And for her to drag that out and say, Amy owes all this money, just like she did to Keemstar, is disingenuous. It does not even touch the reality that the tax code is complex. If you have money, at some point you're going to knock heads with the IRS over some little thing. They're looking for their high rollers. They're looking for anybody who's got money. I was told they're scrutinizing tax documents for people in a certain dollar range. That's where they're looking, because they know those are the people they can hit with a fine and a dollar amount that are large. So if you're at the bottom, if you're on, say, some kind of assistance and you're not making much, they're not bothered about you. They're not bothered about you if you're making under about $150,000 a year. They're just not bothered because they know your ability to pay is limited. So they're looking for high rollers every single time. Apparently, her Spanish language degree makes her a tax expert now. Java, It also makes, she seems to think it also makes her a counselor. It makes her an investigator. It makes her a lawyer. It makes her a whole pile of things that she most definitely is not. A very versatile degree. You know, I've never heard her speak Spanish. And that kind of blows my mind. I have to speak Spanish here. I'm not necessarily great at it, but I can do it. Yeah, I can walk in and like, ¿cuánto cuesta? And then, you know, talk and ask them all kinds of questions about whatever it is I wanted to buy in the first place. That is primarily the most amount of Spanish I have to talk is when I'm out there and I'm dealing, it's like getting my tire fixed, the llantas, or getting gas, so pulling up to the gas station. Bueno, lleno regular. Fill it up regular. So she, yeah, I have a hard time believing that she speaks Spanish because I don't hear any Spanish coming out of her mouth. And I will have to admit, okay, I've never been to Minnesota. That's one of the few states in the union I've not been to. So I'm not aware. I know that every time I have to listen to her talk, even back when we were sort of kind of friendly, I can't stand it. I hear that accent. I'm just like, oh, I just think of clueless white people on the frozen whatever. Hey, Clue. Hey, Ginger. She had an incredibly lot to say about it, to the point where everybody last night was people me saying, "Gotta watch it, you gotta watch it." So I was up to like 1:30 watching this thing, listening to the lies pouring out of her mouth. I couldn't look because if I looked at her dead eyes, I was going to throw up, or I was going to need more of these to wipe up my vomit. I don't know. So what did you think, Java Man? I've never been to Minnesota. Like I said, my impression is white people with horrible accents, but that's just me. And I don't mean that horrible, but just grating on the ear to me. That's only because Southern accents are the only thing that sounds normal to me. Everything else sounds a little suspect, a little sus. And I lived in Mid-Atlantic where there's a broad Mid-Atlantic kind of accent too. And she was throwing Amy under the bus hard. But here's where I don't quite get it. The receipts she showed, some of the conversations, it seemed like Amy said like one tiny little scrap of something, and then Catherine just extrapolated out to this huge thing instead of this teeny little bit of information. I'm a Minnesotan. I love her. She doesn't represent us all. I love it here. Oh, she's a disgrace to Minnesota. I'm glad to hear that. I will go ahead and not judge Minnesota by the one lunatic that's speaking like that, who's unable to speak. And can't speak Spanish, apparently. Predominantly white, but minorities are increasing. The lakes breed mosquitoes. Oh, I'm familiar with that. Grew up in South Louisiana where mosquitoes are king, and living here where mosquitoes are everywhere, and we get Zika and dengue and a number of other very nasty fevers that come from mosquitoes. Sorry to hear that. So her accent just drives me nuts. I guess maybe it's the way she speaks with vocal fry and the ending of some of her sentences where she sounds like she's asking a question instead of stating something. So that drives me nuts. I'm very crazy about some of those linguistic things that you hear off people. So long story short, I watched last night. I listened, I should say. And like I said, she was extrapolating out a lot about Amy. And I was really shocked, because more shocked that she still has it up, because she really has some enormous brass balls. She's portraying herself as a victim in the Amy thing and saying that Amy did want her to come watch the trial with her, hold her hand, be her bodyguard, floss her teeth, scrub her feet, who knows what all else. She's claiming that, and it's not very clear from the screen cap she showed that that's actually the truth. Amy should privacy strike her. She needs to, because Amy is not a creator. She's not. She's not a public figure. She's not on the Duggars show. So I think she would have a damn good chance at that. When people extrapolate, I call that leaps in logic. Yes, she's done a lot of really huge leaps in logic. But I have to say, her lies about being sexually harassed by various members of the Duggar family and her lies about Amy just kind of throw me. When you extrapolate, it's a form of lying, of course. And I just couldn't believe it. I just sat up last night and I thought about it for a long time, because this is what we've seen her do so many times. She'll have somebody she calls a BFF, best friend forever. And then, like she's in middle school, best friends. And then she will do this thing where she keeps talking about her best friend. And then they have a falling out over simple things, complex things, many things. And suddenly she switches the narrative. She flips it so that she is the victim. This other person has abused her, used her, you name it. And then she just outs them, and she builds a narrative, a false narrative, I must say, that clears her of any wrongdoing. She's just the innocent party and everybody else is offending her. Well, she claims now her parents abused her. Plus, there is a questionable report on BNSA. Java Man, exactly. She did say that too. She's claiming her parents abused her, which the SA thing is really problematic on so many levels when you look at the report. She holds it against Aaron that Aaron got it by putting a Freedom of Information Act request in to the cops. That's what people do. She's done it to the Duggars a bunch of times. I've done it myself when I'm looking at a story, a possible story. The difference between us is, and I'm going to say this once and for all about the Duggar insiders that she's talking to. When she was writing and still doing just videos and crap, she and I had some of the same unnamed Duggar insiders. And they were telling us identical things, and she would use the information, I would not. Why? Because I don't use unverifiable sources. When I was writing, I just did not do that. If I could not see where something came from and figure out, and if it didn't come in for at least 3 sources, it did not hit NLQ, because you don't really want to be, the legal system is public. There are countries where that is not the case. You don't want to live in those countries. Java Man, I live in one of those countries. So yes, I understand what you're saying. She did it to Tati Westbrook, then had the nerve to pitch a fit when others did it to her. Good morning, Karma. Michelle, that's okay. I've just been talking about that hot mess of a live stream last night where she not only threw Amy under the bus, she ran the bus over backwards and forwards a couple dozen times. She outed Amy's husband's social media name, which I don't really even see the point of that one at all. She made a lot of claims about Amy that there was not really any big evidence to back it up. She's making all these claims again. I thought our Duggar sources were the voices in her head. Christine, there are always going to be unnamed Duggar insiders that are going to contact you if you're writing or you're doing things about the Duggars online. And they're going to allege all kinds of crazy things. Like, I will say this. This is how we, both of us at the same time, heard about the Homeland Security raid on Josh's business. We heard they were at the house too. Jim Bob Duggar immediately issued a statement after KJ said something about they had not been to the house. I saw pictures of law enforcement vehicles at their house. So some law enforcement was there. What they're doing there, I don't know. I didn't run with that. I just said, rumor is that there was law enforcement at the house. I've seen photographs. Michelle, I don't see it either until I'm sitting up doing something last night, because I've reached a point in my asthma where it's called no sleep. I've had super sleep all week because of the edibles until you hit a certain point in the asthma treatment, then it's no sleep. I'm in no sleep mode now. So I was up last night and people were PMing me like, man, go watch. So I went in there to take a look at her Instagram and see what was going on. And like I said, we all of us who cover this have unnamed Duggar insiders that make these claims. And it's always unnamed Duggar insiders. And they'll send you photos, they'll tell you stuff. A lot of times it's just super wrong. Oh, thank you so much, Jackie. My yarn fun, thanks you. Just saying thank you so much. That's the sort of thing. I don't want to cover this crap. This crap is like the dog shite of the community. But these things happen, and you're like, oh my God, I got to talk about this because so many lies are spilling from her mouth. She talks about being somebody that is a protector and a exposer of these people and this religion. Here's the thing: there's so many things she doesn't know about any of this. She's not helping anybody when she's talking to them. They really need to be seeing a counselor and exit specialist. I know of a few people that counsel if you're leaving exactly this kind of religion. There is help out there. There are resources. But here's the thing. She is not a resource. She is not a counselor. She can't help anyone escaping from this. She is just a trauma vulture that wants their trauma. I guess she can do some exacerbating. I'm going to call it that, since I know that YouTube would probably spank me for using the real word, exacerbating. She's protecting her own bottom line. Jackie, I don't even comment about 90% of the lies that spill from her mouth. She lies quite frequently. She is protecting her bottom line by doing this. Llama Girl has all the clips, and I think that we will see today. Here's my projection. My projection is we're going to see today Catherine is going to completely erase that live and then deny she said these things and did these things. I thought it was interesting. One thing she busted Amy on was lying about the redneck Barbie thing. And I felt like from the beginning that Amy probably did know who redneck Barbie was and was probably deliberately busting on her instead of, as she said, redneck women. You know, there's something to be said for when you do something wrong, just saying, yeah, I screwed up. I'm sorry. There's a lot to be said for that. Amy couldn't do that for some reason. She couldn't do that and admit that she was talking about Jana, her cousin, either. There's something about KJ that brought out the mean girl in Amy. Now, if Amy is or is not a mean girl, I don't have any clue about that. I don't know what she's like in real life. I've never spoken to her. I've never pretended to speak to her. I got something sticky on my computer. I don't know. I just don't know. But I do know that a lot of the chats we've seen, a lot of the things that she said afterwards, especially about her cousins, I just have to question. I mean, what is Amy's motive? Was she just venting to somebody she considered a friend? Because, we all told her this would happen. Everyone tried to warn Amy that this is exactly the kind of thing that would happen, and she ignored all of us. I think KJ put Amy up to that video about Barbie. She could have. She could well have done that. I hope Amy files a lawsuit. KJ is being sued is always a good time. Just saying, I hope so too. She re-victimizes those people, not to mention she was so condescending and rude to her members. Yes. Goldman Sachs was referred to as a vampire squid. Oh my goodness, I hadn't heard that. But then again, I'm not really up on a lot of the U.S. kind of stuff. And I believe they were vampire squids. I think that Goldman Sachs did a lot of stuff wrong before they finally crashed and burned. Just another troll. I am wondering if she didn't get another strike on YouTube because she hasn't been back. She almost never posts on YouTube, and YouTube used to be her bread and butter. I don't know what the pay's like over on Instagram. I barely remember I have one unless somebody says, oh, did you look at this on Instagram? I'm like, oh yeah, I got an Instagram too, and I got a Tumblr and all these other things that I never visit because it's just too much to keep track of. I've got a real life. I've got other shit going on that I really need to deal with. So I don't have time to sit on everything all the time or even see everything. I think she did put Amy up to doing that to Barbie. I like Barbie too. She's a pretty cool person. So, and accents notwithstanding, I mean, even though I'm making fun of KJ for having a Minnesotan accent, a Midwestern accent, accents are what they are. To me, Redneck Barbie's accent sounds like a lot of people I grew up with. People in Louisiana, maybe North Louisiana, speak more like that than other places, but it's not unheard of. And accents are a funny thing. I just have to throw this out. I don't know how many of you've seen the movie The Waterboy with Adam Sandler. I know it's a dumb comedy, but there is a section where they have Farmer, I want to say Farmer Fred. I'm not sure that's his name, but he was the like the coaching assistant. He always had on overalls and he spoke with the hardest Cajun accent you've ever heard in your life. I was watching that movie with friends of mine in Northern Virginia who have mid-Atlantic accents. And they said, what did that guy just say? I just said, okay. He said, tell your mama thank you for the frog cakes. Because for me, that accent was easy to parse. I mean, I've heard that. I've got relatives that speak like that. I have relatives that only speak Cajun French that don't speak English. And the ones that speak English can be just like Farmer Fred, can speak like that. January is not a good month for accents. She's saving those YouTube videos for February where she'll go gangbusters. It's all about the bottom line dollars at KJ. That could be. See you later, Michelle. I love Barbie too, Bliss. She is quite real, and I appreciate that about her. And she covers more than KJ, which I think is awesome. I think that those people that's all they cover, they're limiting themselves very severely. I don't know if any of you have looked at Bobby the Cat's videos this morning. They're pretty funny. He's tackled the whole KJ thing, and it's pretty horrific. He got the worst of the worst, some of the things, and we'll go from there. I'm going to go. I'm just starting to feel really exhausted, weird again. And so don't pay any attention to what she's saying as far as for believability's sake. Because she is at this point, she's flailing around trying to make herself seem relevant. And there's not much relevancy there at all. She can't claim that she's taken down the CULT because clearly she's not. Like I said, I know of some stuff going down within that community that she has not even touched upon that I am not going to speak of until I see how it plays out. But it involves people leaving those kinds of thought places. And make no mistake, IBLP, No Greater Joy, former Vision Forum, Jeff Bodkin, all these guys. Oh, what is that guy's name? The black one. I'm having a brain fart. They are all intermeshed. They may have different names, but they're all actually intermeshed and they're all not too dissimilar. So take care, folks. Have a good day. Try to avoid those things that stress you out and try not to believe anything coming out of her mouth right now. I don't know what triggered that drunken live stream last night. Well, what seemed like drunken live stream last night, but it couldn't have been good. Stay tuned.